"Sir, my dad has that tattoo too." The little girl's voice trembled as she pointed at the ink on the biker's arm. The Hells Angels standing behind him froze in unison, their laughter dying mid-breath. Snow drifted through the parking lot, engines idling, but suddenly the world felt silent. No one noticed the child's thin jacket, or the way her hands shook from cold, only the name she was about to say, the name that would crack open a past none of them were ready to face, and leave one terrifying question hanging in the air: was her father still alive? Right finger if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that change hearts. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Only kindness. Your support helps these stories reach the people who need them most. The biker she had stopped was named Marcus Hale, a broad-shouldered man with a weathered face and a reputation that usually made people cross the street. The tattoo on his forearm was old, faded slightly from years of sun and scars, but still unmistakable, a winged skull with a banner wrapped beneath it. Most people who saw it felt fear. This little girl felt recognition. Marcus had been heading inside a roadside diner with his crew after a long winter ride for charity, their bikes lined up like steel horses outside. He had not expected a child to tug on his leather vest, let alone say words that struck deeper than any punch he had taken in his life. The girl's name was Nora Whitfield, 9 years old, living with her mother in a cramped apartment not far from the highway. Life had taught her to be observant, to remember small details, because her world was full of things that disappeared: money, food, sometimes electricity, and most painfully, her father. He had vanished when she was 4, leaving behind only a few photographs, a leather jacket folded carefully in a closet, and a memory of a tattoo she used to trace with her finger when she sat on his lap. Her mother told her not to ask questions anymore, that some people leave because they are broken, not because they don't love you. But Nora never stopped looking for pieces of him in the world. Marcus stared at her, his jaw tightening as she said her father's name out loud. It was a name he hadn't heard spoken by someone innocent in decades. Around him, the other Hells Angels shifted uneasily. They were men who had faced prison, violence, and loss without flinching, yet this moment left them exposed. The tattoo was not just a symbol of brotherhood, it marked a chapter of their lives filled with mistakes, loyalty, and a brother who never came back. The cold wind seemed sharper as memories flooded in, late-night rides, whispered promises, and the night one of their own disappeared without a trace. Marcus felt something twist inside his chest. He knelt slightly to be closer to Nora's height, noticing how thin she was, how her shoes were worn at the edges. He realized then that whatever had happened years ago had not ended when that man vanished. It had rippled forward, shaping this child's life in ways no one had ever intended. Nora's mother, Clara Whitfield, rushed over, apologizing nervously, clearly intimidated by the sight of so many bikers. She tried to pull her daughter back, but Marcus gently raised a hand, signaling it was okay. Clara's eyes filled with a mix of fear and exhaustion as she explained their situation in hurried fragments. Her husband had been part of a motorcycle club long ago, had promised to leave that life behind, and then one winter he never came home. There was no body, no answers, just silence. She had worked 2 jobs ever since, trying to keep her daughter warm, fed, and hopeful in a world that often offered very little. She expected judgment when she spoke, maybe even anger. Instead, she saw something unexpected: regret. Marcus and the others listened quietly. Each of them carried their own guilt, their own ghosts. They had assumed the man who disappeared chose his path, that survival meant moving on and not looking back. Seeing Nora forced them to confront what they had left behind. That night, instead of eating and riding off, the Hells Angels made a different decision. They pooled their money without discussion, paid for a warm meal, winter coats, and groceries that would last weeks. But more than that, they promised something harder: to search for the truth. Over the following days, old contacts were called, dusty memories revisited, and favors quietly asked. The biker world had long arms and longer memories. What they uncovered was painful but honest. Nora's father had tried to protect someone else, had taken a fall meant for another, and had died believing his family would be safer without him. There was no betrayal, no abandonment, only a sacrifice swallowed by time. When Marcus returned with the truth, he did not wear his vest. He wore the weight of responsibility. Telling Nora was the hardest thing he had ever done. Yet even in her tears, there was relief. The questions that haunted her nights finally had answers. She learned her father had been brave, flawed, and loving all at once, human, just like everyone else. The Hells Angels did not vanish from her life after that. They became a quiet presence, helping Clara find better work, making sure Norris' birthdays were celebrated, and showing up when it mattered most, not as feared bikers, but as men trying to make things right.